multimodal, historia política. Esto está en español, ¿qué pedo?
Hi, good afternoon. We are the team number 3, and we're going to talk about learning styles and strategies. Our team is conformed by Andrea, Janicce, Josheline, and Zurisadai. Okay, now let's talk about what is learning. Learning is when you acquire the knowledge by maybe from a teacher, by classes, from a book. It's when you acquire the knowledge from somewhere. For example, here we have acquisition is for practicing and demanded action. That's like the literally definition. But here, as Gómez Salgado says, acquisition process of knowledge, skill, values, and attitudes as a result of study, instruction, observation, and experience. So Gómez Salgado says a lot of things by learning, when you can acquire it, and some different skills. Okay, like everything, learning has a process. The step number 1 is accessing information. The first thing to get the learning is that you have to have any access, maybe from classes, like I said before, a book, maybe internet to get some information. There's a lot of things and places that you can get that information. The step number 2 is processing and understanding that information. Not everybody can understand the information by the first reading or by the first class. So the first thing that you have to do is prepare to understand it. Maybe if you're learning another language, you have a dictionary and stuff like that. The step number 3 says memorizing long term. That's a very important point because you have to understand it and memorize it to maybe doesn't have an error and something like that. And step number 4 says transferring knowledge to new situations. The best part of learning something is to apply to the life, maybe day by day. That's the interest part of it.
Learning occurs when someone wants to learn, but not when someone wants to teach. That's something obviously because you cannot teach something that you didn't know. How do we learn? To discover the way we learn effectively, it was necessary to investigate our brain. In this research, we discovered what we see is not always what brain sees. Also, the order of contents effective processing environment is always very important factor in learning process. That means attention, motivation for participation, improving their learning. Learning styles. Here we have many styles like active, reflective, theoretical, pragmatic, logical, social. Active. This is when students prefer the active learning side. They are not skeptical and they have open mind. Reflective are individuals which prefer for the reflective learning style and they look at experience from different angles. Theoretical. There are people who proceed through the logical stage, thus adjust their observations and experience to logical and complex theories. They tend to analyze everything, synthesize and seek rationally and objectively in everything. Pragmatic students always try new ideas, improve. If those work, pragmatic students practice what they learn, and this is how they teach information. Logical. The students function and solve complex problems by employing strategies and their scientific way of think. Social. These students know how to communicate effectively and enjoy collaborating with others. Social learners are generally good listeners and who are thoughtful and understanding.
Solitary or interpersonal. Thus, students prefer to use self-study and work alone. They are independent and are very self-aware and in tune with their thoughts and feelings. Visual or spatial. Visual learners are those who prefer learning by observing things. Using pictures, images, diagrams, whiteboards, and more helps these types of learners understand information better. Oral or auditory. These types of learners have a good sense of rhythm. Oral learners are good listeners who normally learn best through verbal presentation like lectures and speeches. Verbal or linguistic. Thus, learners prefer using words both in speech and writing. They can easily express themselves and usually love to read and write. Physical or kinesthetic. These learners are all about the sense of touch. Getting hands-on is a must for those learners who love to tinker and learn best when they can do rather than see or hear. Multimodal. In this style, the students learn by multiple resources, like photos, documents, or videos and stuff. Learning strategies. For Monroy, learning strategies are decision-making process in which the student chooses and recovers in a coordinated way the knowledge that needs to fulfill a certain domain or objective, depending on the characteristic of the educational situation in which the action takes place.
Learning strategies are the cognitive one that refers to the integration of the new material with previous knowledge. The second one is repetition. It says that information is repeated to memorize it. The next one is organization. It combines selected information and elements into a coherent and meaningful whole. And the last one, I think, is elaboration, that integrates the new information with information already known or learned. Then is the metacognitive, planning, control, and evaluating by students of their own cognition, allows knowledge of mental processes. These require awareness and knowledge of variables on the person, the awareness and knowledge that the student has of himself and of his capacities and limitations, the task, reflection on the type of problem to be solved, what is the goal of the task, and finally, the strategy, knowledge about the strategies that can help solve the task. The features that define a student of the 21st century, they move and experiment by themselves. They are oriented by the process and product. They are enriched by technology. They have a collaborative thinking. They are problem solvers. They ask questions. This is by Turon and 2015. The students' needs. They do not want theoretical classes. They want to express and share their own ideas. They want to take decisions and share the control. They want respect. Yeah, we want respect. They want to create using the tools of the time that they have. They want to follow their interests. They want an education connected with the real world. And these are our sources.
Thank you very much for your attention. And the conclusion of this presentation is that we want to let you know that a lot of experts need to explore and analyze the brain of people to know how the learning process works. So we need to know that we have steps and strategies and things like that.
If you get any questions, you can ask us.
Thank you very much for your attention then.
Thank you, bye.
That's all, my classmates. So I'm gonna say bye. Ya pues.
A ver, ya. Voy a leer el último ya.
Hey guys, can you please say hi?
Cállate los hocico que va a leer.